I flew to Los Angeles without a word, dreaming of a warm reunion, but what I found instead was my daughter lying alone in intensive care, fighting for her life. And while she was clinging to every breath, her husband was out on the ocean, pouring champagne and laughing with strangers, spending my money as if I were already dead. That was the day everything inside me snapped. But before I tell you how I turned his world upside down, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you're watching this story. The plane tilted as it began its descent into Los Angeles. My hands trembled while I typed a quick text, landing in 20 minutes. Wait until you see me, sweetheart. I smiled to myself, imagining her face when she opened the door and saw me standing there. 3 years since our last hug. Too long. I slid a photo from my wallet, the one I'd carried since my husband Daniel passed. In it, my daughter Claire was laughing in her kitchen, flour smudged on her cheek. Beside her, my granddaughter Lily was missing a front tooth and grinning proudly, while little Ben held up a messy crayon drawing. I used to stare at that picture every night before bed. But today felt different. Today I wasn't just remembering. I was going to close the distance between us. Ladies and gentlemen, we are beginning our final approach into Los Angeles International Airport. My stomach flipped. The last time I surprised anyone was Daniel's 60th birthday. That felt like a lifetime ago. Grief had kept me locked inside myself for too many years, and Claire had lived her life without me close. But her voice during our last call 3 months ago kept haunting me. I'm just so tired, Mom. Really tired. At the baggage carousel, I watched strangers reunite. Tearful hugs, kids squealing, grandparents kissed on the cheeks. Soon I thought it would be my turn. My Uber driver smiled as I gave him the address. Surprise visit? He asked in a warm accent. Yes. She has no idea I'm coming. Those are the best. He laughed. When I visit my family in Mexico, I never tell them. Joy is bigger when it's a surprise. The city sprawled ahead of us. Palm trees, wide freeways, the golden haze of late afternoon. Clara had always loved the brightness of LA. I used to think she got that fearless streak from me back when I believed in chasing dreams. I thought about calling her on the way but stopped myself. No, better to knock on her door. Better to see her eyes widen in shock before she fell into my arms. The driver stopped in front of a pretty white house with blue shutters. I stepped out, clutching the small quilt I'd sewn for her, made from pieces of her old dresses and Lily's baby blankets. A gift, a memory stitched together by my own hands. I rang the doorbell, heart racing. The sound echoed inside, then silence. I pressed again. Nothing. Clara? It's Mom. I called, knocking gently. No footsteps. No laughter. Just silence. Stepping back, I noticed the garden. Clara used to send me photos of her roses, proud of how they bloomed every spring. Now the bushes were brown, petals scattered across the walkway. The mailbox overflowed with bills and unopened letters, some falling onto the ground. My chest tightened. This wasn't right. Clara wasn't the kind of woman to let her home go like this. I circled around to the backyard. Dust-covered patio chairs. A forgotten watering can. A child's scooter lying on its side. The vegetable patch she once bragged about had withered to brittle stalks. Excuse me, are you looking for the Johnsons? I turned. A kind-faced older woman stood at the fence, wearing gardening gloves. Yes, I'm Clara's mother. Have you seen them lately? She frowned. Now that you mention it, it's been quiet. I used to hear the children laughing. Not lately. Her words made my stomach drop. I tried to stay calm. Maybe they went on vacation. But Claire would have told me. And her husband, Ryan. Oh, he loved flaunting their trips on social media. I pulled out my phone and checked Clara's Facebook. The last post was 6 weeks ago. A school project Lily had made. Before that, nothing. I sat heavily on the front step, quilt clutched in my arms as panic began to creep in. Finally, I dialed her number. 1 ring, 2 voicemail. I tried again. Same result. Then on the 3rd attempt, someone answered. Hello. A man's voice, professional, steady. Clara? No, wait, who is this? This is Dr. Patel from Cedars Medical Center. Are you related to Clara Johnson? My blood ran cold. I'm her mother. There was a pause, then his voice softened. Ma'am, I'm so sorry. Your daughter is here in the intensive care unit. She has advanced cancer. Her condition is critical. The world tilted. Cancer. I see. Critical. I gripped the railing to stay upright. No, that can't be. She never told me. I understand this is a shock. Many patients hide their diagnosis at first. But she's been asking for you. Please come immediately. The line went dead. I stood there frozen, the quilt sliding from my arms onto the porch. My daughter wasn't on vacation. She was fighting for her life, and I hadn't even known. The taxi weaved through Los Angeles traffic as the words from the doctor replayed in my head. Advanced cancer. Critical condition. My chest felt hollow as if air refused to reach my lungs. Out the window, the city passed in flashes. Billboards, palm trees, endless cars. All of it meaningless now. When the driver stopped in front of Cedars Medical Center, the sky was bleeding into twilight. I stumbled out, clutching the strap of my bag so tightly my knuckles turned white. The automatic doors opened, and suddenly I was inside a world of polished floors, antiseptic air, and two bright lights. Intensive care, I whispered to the receptionist, barely trusting my voice. She handed me a visitor badge and pointed toward the elevators. The ride up felt like an eternity. At the 7th floor, the doors slid open, releasing the sound of machines beeping in steady rhythm. A doctor stepped forward. Mrs. Harper? I'm Dr. Patel. Your daughter has been waiting. He led me down a corridor lined with glass windows and hushed voices. I peeked into one room, an elderly man sleeping with tubes in his arms. In another, a child curled against his mother as she read a book aloud. My legs felt like they might give way beneath me, but I forced myself forward. Finally, he stopped outside room 714. Prepare yourself, he said gently. Inside, my daughter Clara lay propped against pillows. Her once glorious brown hair was now thin and patchy. Her face was pale, cheeks hollow, but when her eyes found me, they lit up with a familiar glow. Mom. Her voice cracked like glass, but she smiled. You really came. I rushed to her side, holding her fragile body in my arms. Sweetheart, of course I came. I should never have stayed away so long. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't want you to worry. After Dad died, you were already carrying so much. I thought I could handle it. Oh, Clara. I brushed the hair from her forehead, heart breaking with every word. Why didn't you tell me? We could have fought this together. She squeezed my hand weakly. I wanted to give you good news, not this. But I kept getting worse. I sat beside her, unwilling to let go. Where are the children? With Emma next door. She's been watching them after school. She looked away. Ryan said he was busy with work. My jaw clenched. When did you last see him? 3 days ago. Her voice was small, almost ashamed. He doesn't like hospitals. Says it makes him nervous. I swallowed hard, anger beginning to coil in my chest. And he hasn't been here? Not once while you've been in intensive care. She shook her head, blinking back tears. He sends messages sometimes. Says he's handling bills. But, her voice trailed off, the silence heavier than her words. I stayed with her as the hours passed, listening to the monitor's hum while she drifted in and out of sleep. Each time her eyes fluttered open, she searched for me like she was afraid I'd disappear. At one point while she slept, I noticed her phone charging on the bedside table. My fingers hovered above it, guilt whispering that I shouldn't invade her privacy. But the louder voice inside me, the mother voice, said I needed to know. I unlocked the phone. The last text from Ryan was 3 days ago. Sorry, busy. We'll check in later. Before that, silence. No calls, no missed visits. Then a notification popped up. Instagram. The app was still open. My breath caught. Ryan's profile photo appeared at the top of the screen with a glowing red circle. A news story. I tapped it. The first image made my blood boil. A shining yacht deck under golden sunlight. Champagne bottles on ice. Music in the background. A caption, "Life is short. Celebrate big." I swiped to the next clip. Ryan himself, wearing sunglasses, laughing with women half his age, a glass of champagne in his hand. His arm casually draped around one of them as they posed for a selfie. The timestamp said 1 hour ago. 1 hour ago my daughter was lying here barely breathing. 1 hour ago he was celebrating with strangers, spending the very money Clara and I had saved for her children's future. My hands shook with rage. I nearly hurled the phone across the room, but Clara stirred in her sleep, her fragile hand twitching toward mine. I quickly set the phone back, smoothing her blanket as if nothing had happened. But inside something had shifted. For years I had been quiet, passive, letting grief swallow me whole. I had lost Daniel and convinced myself I had no fight left. But watching my daughter waste away while her husband danced on yachts with champagne. No, that was the spark. I leaned closer, whispering to myself, not anymore. He won't get away with this. The next morning, while Clara slept, I made my way down to the hospital cafe. My coffee went cold as I opened my banking app. Ryan had been listed as a co-signer on Clara's accounts. But Daniel had left me control of certain funds Ryan had no idea about. And that's when I saw it. Thousands of dollars drained over the last month. Charges from luxury rental companies, exclusive clubs, restaurants by the ocean. All while Clara's medical bills stacked higher. The betrayal was complete. I sat there staring at the numbers and made my decision. I wouldn't confront him with tears or begging. Though I would strip him bare the same way he had stripped my daughter of security, dignity, love. He thought I was a grieving old woman. He had no idea who he was dealing with. Later, when I returned to Clara's room, she smiled faintly. "Mom, are you okay?" I kissed her forehead. "I'm better now, sweetheart. I'm exactly where I need to be." What she didn't know, what Ryan was about to discover, was that the woman who once stayed silent in grief had just woken up. And I was going to make sure he lost everything before the week was over. Because if my daughter had to fight for every breath, then her husband was going to learn what it felt like to lose his heir, his comfort, his entire world. And this was only the beginning. The morning after discovering Ryan's betrayal, I didn't sleep a second. I sat in that hospital chair beside Clara, listening to her faint breathing, watching the rise and fall of her chest, and planning every step of the storm I was about to unleash. I wasn't impulsive. That's what Ryan counted on, that grief and age had dulled my sharpness. But grief has a way of transforming into something sharper than a blade when the right button is pressed. By the time the sun came up, I knew exactly what I had to do. First, I pulled out Daniel's old leather folder, the one he had left me after his death. Inside were copies of property deeds, investment accounts, and our will. Ryan probably thought Clara had no inheritance left, but what he didn't know was that Daniel had been a careful man. He'd left safety nets for his daughter and grandchildren. Safety nets Ryan had no access to. I called Daniel's lawyer, Mr. Whitman. His voice was cautious when I explained the situation, but the moment I told him Ryan had been draining Clara's accounts while she lay dying, his tone hardened. "Mrs. Harper," he said firmly, "if you're ready to act, I'll handle the paperwork immediately. Ryan Harper will not touch another cent." By noon, Clara's personal funds had been frozen. Any attempt Ryan made to withdraw money would trigger alerts to me and the lawyer. Step 1 complete. Step 2 was gathering proof. Social media was already handing me evidence on a silver platter. Screenshots of Ryan's yacht parties, his champagne toasts, the women hanging off his arm. It was all there. I compiled everything into a neat folder, each time-stamped while Clara was hospitalized. I didn't stop there. I contacted a friend of mine, Eleanor, who worked in accounting. With her help, we traced Ryan's extravagant spending back to Clara's joint accounts. Thousands blown on bottle service, hotel suites, luxury cars. While Clara's hospital bills went unpaid. The disgust in Eleanor's voice matched my own fury. What kind of man does this while his wife is dying? The kind of man who thought nobody was watching. Step 3 was the trap. Ryan believed his image was untouchable. He charmed people, presented himself as the hardworking husband carrying the weight of his sick wife and children. I decided to use that arrogance against him. That evening, I texted him from Clara's phone. "The hospital says I need to update paperwork. Can you come tomorrow at noon?" His reply was instant. "Busy. Can't. Maybe next week." My lips curled into a bitter smile. Perfect. That was all I needed. The next day, I arranged a quiet meeting in the hospital with Mr. Whitman, a representative from Child Services and Clara's doctor. If Ryan thought he could keep neglecting his children while living like a king, he was about to meet reality. When Clara woke, I explained gently what was happening. Her eyes filled with shame. "Mom, maybe he's just..." "No, Clara." I squeezed her hand firmly. "Don't you dare defend him. You are fighting for your life while he spends your money with strangers. This ends now." She broke down, finally letting the truth crash over her. All the loneliness, the excuses she'd made for him, the time she waited by the door hoping he'd appear, they spilled out like poison leaving her body. And as painful as it was, I could see relief too. That night, Ryan finally appeared. Not at the hospital, of course. Well, he showed up on his Instagram live, dancing shirtless at yet another club, throwing money into the air like confetti. And that's when I struck. I uploaded the entire folder, screenshots, account records, timestamps, to a shared link. Then I emailed it to 3 places: the lawyer, the child services officer, and Ryan's employer. But I wasn't finished. I knew Ryan loved his image more than anything. So I scheduled the same file to drop anonymously into the local neighborhood Facebook group the next morning. The group where every parent, every neighbor, every PTA member could see exactly what kind of man Ryan Harper really was. The fallout was immediate. By noon, Ryan's company had suspended him pending investigation for financial misconduct. By evening, the neighborhood page was flooded with comments. Unbelievable. His wife is in ICU and he's doing this? Those poor children. And the best part? He didn't even know it was me. The first call came to Clara's phone. His voice, panicked for the first time, crackled through the speaker. "Clara, what the hell is going on? People are calling me, my boss is on my back. Someone's spreading lies." Clara looked at me, trembling. I took the phone from her hand. My voice was calm, almost cold. "They're not lies, Ryan. They're the truth you were too careless to hide." There was a pause, then he exploded. "You bitch. This is you, isn't it? You think you can ruin me? You have no idea who you're messing with." I let him rant, then said evenly, "No, Ryan. You have no idea who you were messing with. You left my daughter to die while you played king. Now you'll live like the pauper you truly are." And I hung up. The next weeks were chaos for him. His accounts froze. His reputation crumbled. Parents whispered at school drop-offs. His employer cut ties completely. The women who clung to him vanished the moment the money dried up. Meanwhile, I was in court. With the lawyer's help, Clara signed custody documents ensuring her children would remain with me should the worst happen. Child Services backed us fully, citing Ryan's neglect and financial abuse. When Ryan showed up at the hospital finally, wild-eyed, unshaven, demanding to see Clara, the security guard blocked him at the door. He wasn't on the approved visitor list anymore. I watched from down the hall as he shouted, his voice echoing, "I'm her husband. You can't keep me out." But the guard was unmoved. And for the first time I saw him powerless. I walked past him slowly, my head held high. "You made your choice, Ryan. And now you live with it." He tried to grab my arm, but the guard stepped between us. The last glimpse I had of him was his face twisted in rage, veins bulging in his neck as the reality finally sank in. His reign was over. Back in Clara's room, the children curled against her side, her frail arms around them. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "Mom, you saved us." I kissed her forehead gently. "No, sweetheart. You saved yourself by holding on long enough for me to fight. Now rest. It's over." It wasn't truly over, of course. Grief never ends, sickness never just disappears. But Ryan's grip on her, on us, was gone. And that was enough for now. That night, as I sat by her bed, I whispered a quiet promise to Daniel. "I couldn't save you, but I saved her. And I'll protect them always." Outside the window, the city lights glittered, but for once I didn't feel small against them. For once I felt powerful. Because I had proven something Ryan never understood. Love, when betrayed, becomes the sharpest weapon of all. And I had used it to destroy him.